audience, we are back, and obviously we're going to be talking about how to prepare effectively for the workforce, right? And we have another guest on the show, and I'm very excited to speak to her. Her name is Jenny Den, and she's the General Manager of Global Engagement at Chisholm Institute, and she's going to be sharing some of her experiences and, you know, sharing a little bit of tips to the audiences with regards to preparing effectively for the workforce. So Jenny, welcome to our show today.
Oh, thank you, Phoebe, and Sing Chao.
Wow, you speak Vietnamese as well. That's wonderful.
I wish I could.
Well, I'm aware that you have known, you know, a couple of Vietnamese students and Vietnamese people throughout the years. So you know, what's one of the things that you're looking forward to kind of share with our audience today?
Yeah, certainly. Look, personally, I really do love Vietnam. I'm very fortunate in my role at Chisholm that I get to travel the world to visit some of our projects and our partnerships. And just between you and me, Vietnam is definitely one of the favourites. I love the people, I love the food, I love the egg coffee and the environment. So for the last, I think I was last in Vietnam for several graduations in January 2020. So I'm really missing it. It's been such a long time. Hopefully be able to provide some insights too for students that are looking to enter the workforce.
So, you know, the first question that I think that I definitely need to ask you is, what is an effective workforce? How would you define it? What are the qualities that encompass, you know, effective workers or an effective workforce?
Sure, definitely. Look, I would sort of translate it into a competent workforce that not only have relevant technical skills, but also have what we often refer to as soft skills. So soft skills are often transferable skills such as problem-solving skills or communication, ability to work with others effectively. So I would suggest that in terms of an effective workforce, you can't just have one or the other. You really need to ensure that graduates have both in order to be work ready when they join the workforce.
That's really interesting, right? We often talk about hard skills and soft skills like quite often. It's easily said than done, more easily said than done. What are some of the things that you think, you know, this generation of people that are just starting to enter the workforce, like what are they strong at? And maybe what are some of the development areas in both the soft and hard skills?
Yeah, look, I think in terms of, and my experience, I guess, with Vietnam is that students have often graduated with perhaps theory-based knowledge only, and not necessarily the practical or hands-on skills that might be needed for the workforce. So in order to really be ready for the labour market, you need to have technical skills that are current and relevant for the industry. So just to give you some idea, I guess in Australia, our vocational sector works very closely with industry and generally has a communication line through an association like an industry skills association. So I think when it comes to those technical skills, delivery in Australia is often competency-based training. So what we tend to do is deliver our training hands-on. So we might actually establish facilities that simulate workplaces. So for hospitality, we might have a mock restaurant or a kitchen so that students really get that practice, because it's all about the practice and confidence. Build their confidence by undertaking those technical skills in an environment that's simulated, so not out in the real world just yet. And then I think, as I mentioned, those soft skills are really about building their ability to deal with the workforce, because there's so many things outside of technical skills that you need when you're in a workplace or in that environment. And an example of that is, say, communication skills. So their ability to learn how to ask questions, to critically listen to answers, and then to analyze information and ultimately determine resolutions. So ultimately all of those packaged together you know, hopefully builds a student's confidence so that when they work in the, you know, go out to employment and get their first job, that they've got all the necessary skills to be work ready, as we say, on day one.
That sounds great. And I guess, you know, to all of the shy Vietnamese students or even, you know, people who are older than students a little bit, you know, I think this is definitely an opportunity for them to come out of their shell and practice some of these really vital skills. Thank you for sharing. So one of the things that I'd love to talk about is COVID-19. You know, how we've gone from, you know, going into the office to kind of just bring everything onto the digital front, right? Where do you see the workforce going post COVID-19? And you know, like, what kind of digital skills do people really need to have nowadays?
Well, it's a really good question, because obviously with COVID, you know, it's forced even our industry in education into a remote delivery mode. And to be honest, when it comes to COVID, I think that, you know, there's been sort of like a lot of concern, I guess, that that we've had to make that transition so quickly. But I think it's been fantastic, because ultimately the workforce is going to require those technical skills that students now are quite familiar with. Probably like everyone else, we live our life on virtual meetings and Zoom, and we know how to move between various devices, and so I think now students have become even more au fait and are more comfortable with that. And when we head into the workforce, this is going to be the reality. I must say, when I think about COVID and what it's done for education as well, is that, you know, we're able to transition very quickly in our industry to that remote delivery. But it's worked very well, obviously, for the theory-based activities, but still there is still a need for that face-to-face practical experience. So when I spoke before about having those simulated work environments, you just can't replicate that in a virtual environment. I know there's been many advances, and we've been using virtual reality and all sorts of means to try and get around it. But ultimately, I think at the moment still, there's going to be a need for that practical delivery and assessment that still has to take place face to face. So at Chisholm, we continue to deliver through COVID by providing our theory through virtual means, but we have had to wait until allowed to bring students back on campus to actually do those practical skills as well. So I think in the workforce of the future, it's going to be a blend of both as well. There is obviously going to have to be that practical side of things, but also individuals will have to be comfortable in working like this.
That's great. You know, I think the blended model that you just mentioned for sure is the way of the future. Sometimes I feel like meetings are just faster, you know, if it's done online. And then knowledge can be accessed so much more easily now that there are courses that can be delivered online. But yes, that hands-on experience is, you know, is the kind of it's a kind of thread that ties in all of these knowledge to be able to allow somebody to work effectively, for sure. Yeah. As someone who's had a number of years of experiences working with Vietnamese people, what are some of the stories or memories that you have? Can you share a couple of some great ones and maybe some to be great ones?
I guess from the point of view of the project that we just completed with DVET, and I'd mentioned we'd had the graduations in January, some of the really exciting news that we're hearing is some of our graduates have gone overseas, were able to get overseas before the borders closed. And one, for example, is working with the Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines out of America. So something that really probably would never have been in this student's mind as being possible until he went through the Australian qualification with Chisholm. So I think that's a really great one. And then I hear on the other side that there is many of the big companies like LG and Samsung and Foxconn that are based in Vietnam now employing large groups of our graduates for their production plant or for their other facilities, and many of them indicating that those students have come in and are definitely quite distinct in that they've got this confidence, they've got English ability, and they've also got those problem solving and communication skills.
That sounds really, really nice, and I'm also super happy to be able to hear. So IFO audiences, as well as Jenny, we are at home right now, but we all want to not be at home. Well, my colleague Tung Dang is in that lucky situation. He is now in the studio, joined by a very inspiring guest, and her name is Hung Dang, and she's going to be talking about a lot of inspiring stories. So make sure you continue to tune in with us and see the kind of conversations that my colleague Tung Dang is fostering. So Jenny, let's listen to that interview as well.
Let's take a break with IFO Facts. Australia is a nation of inventors and entrepreneurs. Our innovations include the electronic pacemaker, 1926, the black box flight recorder, 1958, Wi-Fi, 1990s, Google Maps, 2003. Australia's research publications achieve an impact that is at least 20% above the global average in 20 out of 22 fields of academic research. Australia's 4 strongest categories of published research are in space science, physics, computer science, and clinical medicine. Now let's see what is coming up next with IFO.
Hello everyone, my name is Hung Dang. I am the Director of Partnership and Strategy at KOTO, a not-for-profit social enterprise in Vietnam that helps street kids and disadvantaged youth. There is a quote that I really like: be ready when the opportunity comes. Here I am at the studio. My name is Hung Dang.
Welcome to IFO Nightly Show.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so IFO is a show that predominantly features English journeys, but we are equally as interested in life journeys, and yours is a fascinating one, so I'd love to hear that. What created you? What created Hung Dang from a girl of humble beginnings in the countryside of Vietnam to a very distinguished, very accomplished woman that you are today?
That is a very nice introduction. Thank you so much.
That's my job.
So I think look back to my journey. There are many elements that's created myself, the women's today. First of all, is from the experience, whether it was bad or good. It's all from the experience that I gather along the way. And another aspect of that was education and you know the opportunities that I have been given throughout the journey. And last but not least, the love of a mother, my mom, who you know has nothing but loved me unconditionally, and the family orientation that she has given me. So you know that's formed and shaped the woman that I am today.
Okay, so it's a confluence of a lot of different factors and people.
Yeah.
So obviously, your dreams are a big factor that fuel your success. So could you maybe chronicle for us your dreams were, what they were in the beginning and how they have changed over the years?
Yes, I think that is a very important aspect of everyone's life. Even when you have nothing, but if you have a dream that guide you throughout the ups and downs. So for me, as a little girl, very small, very little, when I was 6 years old, my dream was to become a teacher. And luckily, every summer I lived with my grandparents, and my uncle from my mother's side was a teacher. And you know, living in the small countryside, I didn't really have that privilege to, you know, to read books or to have books or access to education or you know a lot of resources. But one thing that I loved was reading books and reading magazines.
Yeah, so do I.
My uncle was teaching at a primary school, and he usually gives me a lot of books and magazines, and I started reading at very young age. So for me at that time, I was always thinking that, you know, if I become a teacher, then I get free magazine and you know access to reading a lot of books, and I always have that dreams. But then because of the financial circumstances from my family, my mother could not afford to, you know, to pay for me to go to school. So I left school, but and I went to Hanoi to work as a babysitter. But then, you know, throughout those years, I always still, you know, dream to that one day I can come back to school. So I always believed that education would change my life.
And it did.
It did. It really did. And it made a huge impact in my life. So you know, later on, I realized that, you know, along the way you go, you always have different dreams at different stage of your life. You see something that is not suitable at that time, but maybe in the future is more relevant. So when I was living on the street of Hanoi and, you know, doing a lot of jobs that I can survive, I still have that hope that I can change my life through education. So I still love that dream to become a teacher, but it's, you know, it's always seemed to be so far away because we couldn't afford it. So one day I met Koto. I became a Koto trainee, and, you know, at that time my dream was to become a bartender because I studied hospitality and English and life skill at Koto, and I always wanted to become a bartender. For some reason, a lot of people has that mentality to tell me that, you know, you are a girl, you cannot work in the bar, and you can't be a bartender because you're so small.
They don't know what they're talking about.
And yeah, so I kind of doubt myself a bit. But during the time I studied at Koto, that opportunity changed my life, and it's opened a whole new world of possibilities and bigger dreams. So I still wanted to go to top university in Vietnam. I look back and I felt that it was a bit crazy. I didn't really have all the requirements to go to that school, but I always dreamed to go to that school. So I talked to Jimmy Pham, the founder of Koto, and I said to him that, you know, I want to go to universities. And he said to me one thing that, you know, you focus on studying at the moment, and then I will help you. And he did. So, but after I graduated from Koto, I did learn a lot of English, and I always think that English will be the key to help me explore the world. So I registered for some English class, and later on...
Outside of Koto?
Outside of Koto.
Okay.
And then I said to... So before coming to Koto, I didn't know any language.
Wow.
And then one day I sat with Jimmy and I said to him, like, I want to go to Dubai. And he was asking me, you know, like,
what's your fascination with
Dubai?
Dubai?
Yes.
Yeah.
So because at that time, some of the Koto alumni graduated from the program. And you know, Dubai is the world of hospitality, 5-star hotel and resort. So I would always imagine, like, I can earn a lot of money and I can come back and then I can go to universities. And I also could help my families a bit as well.
Okay.
So Jimmy said to me, like, you know, not Dubai, definitely not Dubai. You have to go to Australia.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, it was like, wow, Australia, I don't think I will be able to go there. Just always down myself at that time. But then I just go back and I registered for another English class for IELTS. And I got a scholarship. The dream to go to Australia is becoming very true. So then I was registering for a lot of, you know, education fair and learning about education in Australia.
And the opportunities just started to open up.
Yes.
And before you got your IELTS, everything was kind of just a haze. You know, it was kind of uncertain, you know. But once you obtained the IELTS score that you were after, and then everything became a lot clearer, you know? So it could be said that English was a major catalyst. It was an enabler for your dreams.
Yes, definitely.
How did you study English?
So to be honest, before going to Koto, I didn't know a word in English. But at the age of around 13, when I was first come to Hanoi, and when I first came to Hanoi, and I worked as a babysitter. So the family I live with, they have the old-fashioned styled CD player. And I listened to the first song in my life, the first English song in my life was Lemon Tree.
Lemon Tree,
Lemon Tree, yes. Without understanding of what it was, I just loved the rhythm. When I came to Koto, I was so lucky that Koto adapted the model of teaching English that is very practical. And I had that opportunity to meet a lot of foreign customers at the restaurant, so I talked to them, and that's how I learned English.
I think a major turning point for your English journey, and for mine as well, is when I discovered the word lyrics.
Yes.
I didn't know how to search for like lyrics.
Exactly.
But once I learned the word, right, it opened up like a whole new world. And
I still remember that we all wrote it on the book, on the notebook. Yes.
I would imagine you must have had a lot of influences, people that you look up to and tell you that you can do this. So could you maybe share with us who inspires you to live your life, to work hard, and to achieve success?
Thank you so much. I think the first person that always has a big impact on my life is my mom. Not because she is so high educated, or she is a simple farmer. She works in, live and works in the small countryside. But by how she is living, she is a real role model to myself. The way she is treating other people, the way she is, treating us, the way she shows us her strength and resilience, and be kind to other people in whatever circumstances that she has been given. So my mom has always inspired me to become a strong woman, but also being feminist. And another person that has a huge impact on my career and my during my learning to become an adult is Jimmy Pham. Whenever I talk about this guy, I just feel so emotional.
Yeah.
He is the founder of Koto, and to many people, he is the young global leader of the World Economic Forum. And he has so many big awards and a big guy. But to me, he's a dear brother who can sit with me and listen to all of my dreams, listen to all of my my sadness, and who's witnessed all the vulnerability of myself and watching me grow over the time. And he always encouraged me to go to university, to make my dream come true, to go and explore the world. But also he always reminded me how to become a leader and to remember the root of where I come from. So even when I was in Australia, he always encouraged me to go back to Vietnam and contribute to the community here, because this is what I come from, where I come from. And with the knowledge and experience I have equipped from overseas, it's really useful to come back. So he is always someone who is so special to me, and who always teaching me how to become a great leader.
I mean, you speak about him with such fondness. It is very apparent that he is someone that you hold very dear, and your tutelage under him obviously has a lot to do with the person that you are today. And he's also the person that kind of helps pave the way for you to explore the world. And we're going to hear more about Ms. Hương Đặng story of how she explores the world, more specifically the land of Australia, in the next segment of the show.
Wow, Hương Đặng story. It's a really interesting and extremely inspirational one, right? To go from poverty to having a stable career internationally and getting international training. I think that's quite rare. So Jenny, what do you think about Hương story after hearing?
Always so inspirational to hear such stories. Look, I'm very familiar with Koto, with Know One, Teach One, and it just never ceases to amaze me what people are capable of once they've had access to education.
So how does Chisholm prepare students for the future work? And what's been your experience like in this industry?
Yeah, sure. So so as I mentioned before, I guess when Chisholm Institute is delivering programs or diploma and higher ed programs to students, around 30,000 students a year. And we also have our offshore partners that deliver programs on our behalf. So the program that I was involved in with Vietnam delivered programs to over 700 Vietnamese students across 25 colleges in 12 sector areas. So Chisholm supported these colleges to understand competency-based training, the assessment processes, and how we deliver those programs in Australia. And look, the program that we had with Vietnam was fantastic. I mean, the students were so amazing. I think in the first few months, all of them did indicate that they were ready to quit, that this learning a program in a foreign language, as well as this competency-based training and having to do presentations and ask questions, it was all just too much. But fortunately, they all made it through. We had a really good retention rate with the program. So graduated some 725, I think it was, in the end, which was amazing. And part of that program is very similar to what we would do in Australia, where we support the students for that career readiness. We also support them to introduce them to industry where we can. So how do we make sure that industry is aware of the graduates and that graduates are aware of what opportunities are taking place? So all of those things that we would do, I guess, in Melbourne is what we look to undertake in our global campuses as well, and something that was quite successful in Vietnam.
Now, I think it's time for me to ask you a couple of audience questions. So the question is, Jenny, I'm a fresh graduate, and at the moment I do not get along with my boss. How do I adapt to changes and accept opinions from employers that I feel uncomfortable to agree with in the workplace? Any thoughts and advice on this?
I think my response would be that we have to all be very open to feedback, regardless if you agree or not. It's important to listen and to maybe not necessarily accept, but to definitely listen and be open to having that feedback. And what you might find, particularly with graduates, there might be supervisors out there that feel a little bit threatened by graduates that have got new skills and understanding of you know, processes and equipment that they may not have. So you need to sort of take it all in, I guess, when you are receiving this feedback. And in the end, just speak to others, speak to mentors, speak to your family, speak to others, your former teachers, just to really get a bit of a 360-degree look at that feedback. But in the end, never you know, say no. Always accept feedback. Always be open and willing to hear the feedback, because it will improve you and it'll help you become a better person and a better employer. Sometimes the feedback might be not what you want to hear, and it can be really hard to hear, but ultimately it's life, and I think it's something that people need to be open and willing to accept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great advice. You know, accepting feedback, radical candor are such important emotional intelligence skills. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming here with us.
Thank you, and come on.
So ladies and gentlemen, that's Jenny Den, General Manager Global Engagement at Chisholm Institute. And my mission today is done. I'm going to actually throw the ball back to Tung Dang in the studio, where he's going to be talking to Hoong Dang. He's going to be talking to her more, and Hoong is going to be sharing stories of how Australia inspired her success. So that's it for me today, and Tung Dang, back to you.
Welcome back to the IFO Nightly Show, and we're here to delve deeper into Miss Hoong Dang's Polynesian Odyssey, your time in Australia. To my understanding, you had to juggle studying and working at the same time, but why did you have to do that? I thought that your studies were sponsored.
You know, I always dreamed to come to Australia, and when I first came to Australia, I got my first scholarship was for 1.5 years. But I remember on that very first flight that I took to Australia, I said to myself that I need to complete my my bachelor degree, a full degree, before coming back to Vietnam. So the scholarship was given to only for tuition fees. So for living expense, I then have to work out a plan to go and work and, you know, rent and pay for rent. So I was very lucky because I had experience working in 5-star hotel in Vietnam. So I also studied hospitality before, so I was able to get a job at a 5-star hotel in Melbourne.
And what did you do? Were you a
So I was a
bartender?
waitress. No, I was a waitress.
Oh, you were a waitress.
But then I became a little bit, you know, like barista, and so I earned money to pay for my living expense. But then At the beginning, like I was having that pinky dream that, I come to Australia, I can earn decent money, I can work full hours. But then, life wasn't like that. That was the first life lessons. When I came to Australia, like the weather wasn't that I expected. I really missed that home food from Vietnam. I was really missing home. And the reality was, I was only given 3 hours and 6 hours per week. And only 12 hours per month, to be honest, instead of 20 hours per week. So I didn't earn enough money, and I was freaking out. And I was like, what should I do now? I will not be able to survive. So one day I remember I submitted a survey from the corporation. So I was sitting in the office and I filled out that survey, and I remember in that note I said that I'm a international student and I need to have more hours to survive, and I don't have money from families. I wasn't a rich kid, so lots of people, to be able to come to Australia to study or overseas, they will have to, have to prove that you have decent finance support from families.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that situation, so.
I mean, you kind of had to budget everything down to the cent.
Exactly, yes. So I submitted that survey, and then I didn't hear anything from the company. And one day I couldn't bear with it anymore, so I emailed my boss, and he's a French guy, and I said to him that, Fred, I have to say that you need to help me because I need the increased numbers.
You're a nice guy, but
so
give me those hours.
I didn't expect that he called me up and had a meeting. So one day he called me and he says that, did you really fill out in that survey? And I said yes, and he was like, oh. I was wondering, like who was filling it in this one, because I didn't expect that with the short time coming to Australia, you were able to structure the English email like that. So he then, asked me to work more hours, but he was helping me to find more hours in other outlets. So that was really helpful.
So what other aspects of Australia did you like besides the people?
I think it's more about the environment, the community, and I spent over 5 years living, studying, and working there. I grew like part of my life is there. So from an international student to become a staff in a company, in an Australian company, and I learned so much about their cultures and their kindness of, the act of kindness and the giving cultures, and the cities that is so multicultural. It has everything, but it also allowed you to be yourself, and also I pretty much get everything that Vietnam can offer. So I don't feel that missing home kind of things.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just amazing. I always
it instantly felt like your second home.
Yeah, it's my second home.
So nice to live in a society where acceptance and diversity, philanthropy, generosity are all of the qualities that are ingrained into the family.
And the education system is so good, and welfare in terms of infrastructures, transportation. If you know that Melbourne is always in the top list of most livable city in the world.
Now I'm just so delighted by your story of how you learned English through songs that I have a special surprise for you today.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
You should be no stranger to this melody.
It's 15 years already. Wow.
I'm sitting here in the boring room. It's just another rainy Sunday afternoon. I'm wasting my time, I got nothing to do. I'm hanging around, I'm waiting for you, but nothing ever happens. And I wonder, I'm driving around in my car. I'm driving too fast, I'm not riding too far. I like to change my point of view. I feel so lonely, I'm waiting for you, but nothing ever happens. And I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see, just another lemon tree. I'm turning my head up and down, I'm turning, 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 turning around, and all that I can see, just another lemon tree. Sing da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da da. I'm sitting here, I miss the power. I like to go out, taking a shower, but every heavy cloud inside my head. I feel so tired, put myself to bed when nothing ever happens, and I wonder. Isolation is not good for me. Isolation, and I don't want to sit on the lemon tree, stepping around in the desert of joy. Baby, anyhow, I got another toy, and everything would happen, and I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see, just another lemon tree. I'm turning my head up and down, I'm turning, 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 turning around, and all that I can see, just another lemon tree. And I wonder, I wonder, I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see, and all that I can see, and all that I can see, just another lemon tree.
Welcome back to the iPhone Nightly Show, and we're here in conversation with our special guest, Ms. Hương Da. And now we're going to pick her brain on her secret ingredient for success. So I can't help but notice in your story you've come up against a multitude of adversity, and what has helped you to weather all the storm and be able to come out triumphantly every time?
You know, I learn a lot along the way. It's not that one day you become very strong,
For
or
sure.
that's one day you become very knowledgeable, or having a lot of experience. So my secret, not really secret, but my recipe is always to be positive. Not that to be positive that you have pinky dreams or things like that, but you learn how to accept uncertainties. Mm-hmm. And this is, if you look into the current situation at the moment of COVID for a year already, I feel so thankful that I developed that mentality for a long time. Mm-hmm. So when life throws me a lot of lemons, I make a margarita. So
yeah.
I don't even make
Amp it up.
I don't even make a boring lemon juice.
Yeah, lemonade is so yesterday.
So I always think that you need to have that kind of positiveness, because life has so many, like, as you live and as you grow, life has so many challenges, and to be positive, to accept it is what it is. Uncertainties, when it's thrown at you, is help you become stronger. So I usually, number one, be very positive, and number two, have a plan B.
Have a plan B.
Yeah. So plan B doesn't mean you need to have exact, what it is, what is a step. If I don't do this, what else can I do? Plan B to me is more like, you accept that things might not go in the way that you expected.
So it's like managing your expectations a little bit.
Yes.
You know, and
then,
always have a safety net.
Yes. And then also seek for help. So my plan B is always, you know, whatever I do, I have a mentor. So a mentor for personal development, a mentor for career development, and a mentor for mindfulness. So I learned a lot about meditation. I practice meditations and I apply it to my career and my working life to help me, you know, to balance and juggle between a quite challenging job and then enjoy life.
The peace of mind afforded by having a plan B help you to achieve your plan A?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's go around, you know, and then it reminds you that, you know, there is not only one way to get to where you want to be. And sometimes having a plan B is where you achieve different kind of things that is even better than what you set for the plan A. So an example of that was I always plan ahead of time for whatever it is, like for education, for career, for my personal life, and sometimes it didn't go that way.
Yeah.
And I remember I always dreamed to stay back in Australia after 18 months of studying, and I always, you know, write a statement to university seeking for sponsorship and a scholarship, and it didn't really happen. But one day the 2 awards that came up like out of nowhere, and I got it, and then I always wanted to study bachelor degree, and the tuition fee was so expensive that I couldn't afford. And then when I went to the university and I met a course advisor. And he said to me that, you know, with your experience and with your background, you may be able to apply directly to a master course. So then with the same amount of time and money, I got my master degree instead of, you know, doing another 2 years for bachelor degree. Wow. So sometimes a plan B is really helping you achieve better things.
Very enterprising. Right? Speaking of plan B, I'd love to hear, you know, the alternative scenarios that play out in your head when you came to the turning points in your life, of which there are quite a few. And what would you have done if you hadn't gone to Australia?
You know, I think I would just stay in Vietnam, having a simple career, and I don't really know because I moved away from hospitality to marketing communication industry without even learning about marketing. So without going to Australia, I don't think I have that skills to really level up my career and to be where I am today, and to learn different skill set that I have, and that helped me to become a leader in different industry and open my own social enterprise. So meeting Jimmy in Koto was a turning point that, you know, changed my life, changed my family life, and changed my whole community.
So what is your current plan? What do you want to do now?
So my current plan is that I want to create a bigger impact in Vietnam, and that's one of the reasons why I came back. Because when I was in Australia, I had a really good job. I lived with a host family that is so nice, that treated me like a daughter.
You were comfortable.
Yeah, it was so comfortable, and I love it. I had so many friends there, but I wanted to make bigger impact in a higher level in the countries that I was born, and also to give back to the organization that changed my life.
For sure.
So my current plan is now to help Koto become a sustainable social enterprise in Vietnam, and also to grow my own social enterprise, Hopebox, so that it can help more people. It can create bigger impact to the community. So that's for career plan. And for future plan, I still wanted to explore more in the world. I want to travel more. I want to go to more places, and do different things, and maybe studying another master.
We've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for coming on to the show today.
Thank you.
And thank you for your wonderful stories, especially the tales about your Australian adventures. And that's what we really want to say to you guys. Dream big, dream more, and take action if you want what you dream to be yours. It has been lovely to chat with Ms. Lung Nak today. My name is Tun Dang. Thank you for watching the IFO Nightly Show. We'll see you guys very soon.
ladies and gentlemen. This is a voice from cabin crew of IFO Airline. I am Hương Đăng, Chief Flight Attendant, together with Captain Tung Đăng. It is my pleasure to welcome you aboard on the flight of IFO 715. We are currently third in line for takeoff and are expected to be in the airport in approximately 7 minutes' time. We ask that you please fasten your seatbelt at this time and secure all baggage underneath your seat or in the overhead compartment. We also ask that your seats and table trays are in the upright position for takeoff. Please turn off all personal electronic devices, including laptops and cell phones. Smoking is prohibited for the duration of the flight. Thank you for choosing IFO Airline.